What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Speak. This is your host, Harris DeMarco, and today I am with another friend of mine from high school. I feel like I'm doing the rounds, man. I'm doing the rounds. But this is a good friend of mine, Barry Holmes, guys. Say hi to Barry. How we doing, Barry?
Great. Feeling great. Good to be here, Harry. Feeling great.
Good, man. Fellow podcaster. How's life?
Man, life is doing good, man. Let's put it this way. I guess you could say I was struggling a little bit because I've been dealing with this whole unemployment thing that's hit with this corona. But I've really just been trying to find different ways to stay productive, stay positive, and just to stay active, and that's pretty much where my life is stood right now, just trying to prepare to come out in the quarantine in the best, of my abilities.
Yeah, a lot of people may not know what you actually do, for work. Just talk a little bit about, what you do for work.
Okay, dope. So, before the corona, I was a site coordinator for Playworks, and pretty much there, Playworks is a nonprofit that services, schools in Newark, New Jersey, and also across the country. So I would pretty much be in charge of creating programs or sustainable systems for schools to really pretty much promote safe, healthy, and positive play. And then to create change, both, social and emotional with that as well. So, I really get to directly impact, the lives of hundreds of thousands of kids. And, it's definitely something that I don't take lightly. So, I actually had an opportunity recently where one of the schools that I used to work at reached out to me to do a virtual career day with them. So, I'll get to be able to talk to the students, and, it's different projects and engagements like that that help me to fulfill my day and make it feel like I've been able to add some value to some other people's lives as well.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it's crazy right now. Like, how are you holding up as far, like not working? Obviously, like we have stimulus checks and stuff, but it only goes so far,
Mhm.
and it's got to be tough, man.
Oh, for sure. And I think the biggest, thing that made it tough for me is that, when you have unemployment and then you go through, all the different steps as far as contacting them online, doing the proper form submissions, but then you're at a point now where, it's going on close to 2 months and it's still pending, right? So, I think it really helps us to invest in ourselves, whereas, we have a lot of jobs that are having hiring freezes and stuff. So I've really just taken this opportunity to work on, my resume professionally and, try and get that resume out there to get some different opportunities. So, it's definitely, difficult right now, but I really try to take it and flip it on the coin and just take it in a positive way and try and build myself back up.
And totally, bro. Do you think that you'll look at like a different career field after this? Like, spend a couple months to dive into some stuff on your own and do some just kind of reconnaissance work on yourself a little bit to see what you can do, maybe to upgrade your resume and stuff. Like, is there anything that you're looking to do, like once everything opens up again? Any plans specifically, or?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I was able to do is, from looking at my resume, kind of seeing where a lot of my skill set has, tailored around, and when I have been looking and searching for different career paths, I think the one thing that's kind of interested me is definitely the social media management. Because if you look at, the podcast that I've created, I've been able to set up a Twitter account for that, set up an Instagram account, use whatever marketing tools that I've learned and, use those different skill sets to try and build an audience and build a base, which I've been able to do. So I would love to be able to get that opportunity to help some other company out as well, and start in that direction. So I've been looking at some things as far as there, but I really have over these past couple of years with, bartending, with working as a sports reporter, doing private catering, having my own podcast, even doing the nonprofit work. And I just feel like I've been able to create this entire, tool belt. So it's really, these past couple weeks and months have kind of been a realization for me to see how can I effectively use that tool belt.
No, I hear you, man. And how's podcasting going? Talk That Talk Show with Barry Holmes. How's that been going?
Oh man, we actually celebrated our 1 year anniversary about a month ago. I think we're at 4,000 total downloads and 7,000 total views on our Facebook live stream. And I really have embraced the fact of just trying to create, a different episode each and every week, but at the same time, just try to captivate the different things that are current and, give people the topics that they want to hear about. And, I've really just embraced this whole Facebook living of that. And I think that that's what really separates, my podcast from other podcasts, because we're just shooting it in one take and that's it.
Yeah, definitely, man. So the live is definitely a nice dynamic. And right now, everyone seems to be doing live streams,
Mhm.
across the board. More people are trying to figure out how to go live and stuff. So that's great, man. Congratulations on 1 year podcasting. That's awesome. And 4,000 downloads. I mean, dude, teach me, like, what are some secrets? Like, give me some nuggets here, man. I'm trying to get more reach like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest thing that my mentor told me and the thing that I've learned the most is that, you just got to continue to drive content. I think the biggest way that you can gain followers or gain, different audience bases is that, you're consistently putting out content. And definitely not afraid to try different things. I've done video game reviews, I've done beer reviews, which has eventually got me a better partnership with one of my sponsors in BW Liquors. So, I feel like, the more you just try to tailor things to, the things that you're passionate about, it'll definitely help you to gain, those different audience bases and not only get them, but keep them as well too. Cause, I remember just starting YouTube, not even like, I think kind of around the same time as you did, maybe like a couple months ago.
Mhm.
And, now we're at 60 subscribers. So, just trying to set little goals. I think one of the things that I've tried to do is that, I try to get a goal of just getting one follower each day. If I can get one more subscriber, I'm one step closer to, getting, where I want to go. And also using different opportunities of communication with people. I know that you do a lot of streaming on Twitch with the Call of Duty, I see. So even then, sometimes even when I get in parties with randoms, I'll just plug my show and be like, hey, I did a video game review on Streets of Rage. Why don't you check it out? So just trying to
Yeah.
find different ways to gain new followers is for sure help this
That's
out.
awesome, man. And like like we're gonna play video games anyway. I feel like might as well just stream it. So I've been
Oh
playing
yeah.
video games like all my life. And just recently I've been like, yeah, why don't I just figure out how to stream this, and get my face in there and put it out there and get a piece of content out there, show a little bit of a different side of myself and the gaming side. And it's fun too, right? Like it's so fun streaming.
Oh
But
yeah, and I think the best thing about streaming also is that you definitely get a whole different base of people, right? I've met so many different people. I have like friends in Canada, friends out west, and people that you play with every day. But when you're able to stream with them and have fun, it's just something different with competing with your friends, especially in a time where we don't have sports. Call of Duty Warzone is our best chance
yes.
at competition. So it's fun to be able to compete with your friends, and streaming has brought that as well too. I actually just caught a win today on Twitch, so you gotta check me out.
Oh, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Yo, some of these guys, they're making some serious dough on Twitch and everywhere else, and Mixer and stuff. They're getting
Oh yeah,
sponsor after sponsor. It's pretty wild, dude. Like kids that
yeah.
are like maybe 17, 18 years old, making a few grand a month, like even more than that.
But the biggest thing with that is you gotta be so ridiculously good. Even in quarantine, I've been able to play probably about 3 or 4 hours, I guess you could say. But when you look at these top, ranked guys, I mean, when do they even find the time to sleep? They're logging in 12,
Yeah.
13-hour days. I have one friend who streams 2K. And that's literally the only game that he plays. So it's like for the time you see him on to the time he hops off, he's only playing 2K. So I
Yeah.
think it also takes a certain level of determination of just playing one game and really getting good at it.
And it gets tiring, bro. Like it definitely gets tiring, like playing for like a couple hours. Like I was streaming the other day for almost 3 hours and I was like, yo, I'm pretty beat right now, man.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing any better either.
hmm
But
it's definitely something. It's like one of that like uncharted territories, I guess you can say, that a lot of people are starting to tap into. I remember when streaming first came out. It was really about what's his name, Ninja. I think he was on the Fortnite. But now you have people from Doctor Doom to Choco Taco. So it's definitely interesting to see the different types of streamers and what kind of streams that they have out there. Because there's a lot of.
yeah, are you on any like Discords or anything? A part of any groups?
I'm actually not. I'm not really, I guess you could say, as experienced or as knowledgeable about them.
Mhm.
So, pretty much I've just went with Twitch, and I've pretty much dove straight headfirst into there. So,
Yo, it's so entertaining too. Like just watching some games. Like the other day, I made, I think, made a couple eggs or whatever, and I was sitting down. Like I was like, what should I watch right now? I was like, I don't want to watch anything on YouTube. I was like, let me put on Twitch. I was watching these guys like play COD, and usually I don't like to watch gaming, but I like to
mhm.
play. But it was really awesome, man, and like I couldn't wait to like see what was happening. So it's fun to see like competitive gaming. You remember like
Oh,
way back, there was like this one channel, I think it was like this one gaming channel that was on TV.
G4 or something like that.
Yes,
That's what. Yeah.
G-Force. Oh my God, taking it
Hmm.
back, man. And they used to show like
Yeah.
the latest like consoles coming out or latest video games. I remember being like
Yeah.
13
I
years
think
old
one of
looking
the
at this
shows.
thing, right?
I think they had like Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb on one of the shows. I can't remember one of the. But I remember used to come right after school and you'd be able to see some of the gameplay footage. And I think it's crazy because nowadays you don't even need a channel for that because you just go straight to the internet and you got like GameSpot, a whole bunch of different ones that you can go to.
Exactly. It gives a lot more people the opportunity to kind of show their own dynamic, their own zest, or their own creativity, towards video games, just in their own house. They could just have a desk and show some stuff. But I can definitely remember when they put Xbox on for the first time, and I was shocked, man. I was like, "What is that thing? It looks awesome," and all the freaking
Yeah.
RGB going on, little screen and all different colors, man. It was crazy.
I had Xbox and PS4, but then I actually wound up selling my PS4. I pretty much got that console because I feel like, with PS4, I love MLB the show, but, I'm a big Xbox party guy. And I feel like a lot of times when you're on PS4, you have a lot of people that don't have mics and stuff. But it's like when you're on Xbox, everybody has a mic. So I love that interaction on Xbox for sure.
Oh, I didn't know that, man. That's definitely true. Every time I'm on COD on Warzone, I'm like, anybody got a mic? Anybody got a mic? Mic up, guys. Let's go.
Right? Like, but when you're on Xbox,
And then they got all the PC gamers there who are just insane.
yeah, and especially in a game like Warzone, you need to be talking to your homies and seeing, like, especially that.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Oh yeah, my brother, he actually built his own PC, and it's funny because he prefers that.
hmm It's fun. I mean, it's a lot of work though, like picking out all the components and stuff. But hey, if you know how to do it, man, more power to you.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see like just how intricate the PC is, and like because I remember my brother was talking about how he didn't spend, I guess, the right amount of money on a case or a house for his CPU, and just the difference of what $50-$60 is. Him having his leg on fire while he plays and not having it on fire.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So other than
So
video games and juicing up the resume, what else you been up to like in isolation over here? Just been sitting home mostly and on the computer, or what else you been up to?
honestly, like I've taken a little bit of an interest in my own personal health. I know a lot of times that what I had noticed before was that, not having, a job or really too much things to do in the time of quarantining, I found that I was definitely drinking a lot during, the weekday. So I made a pact to myself that I wasn't going to be drinking during the week and only on the weekend. And I've also taken that time to go out and run a little bit more. I've been running about 4 miles a day at TJ and in the back at TJ. And I think it was funny because I had spoken about how, running has kind of helped me to get a little bit stronger, not only physically, but mentally. And I talked about that on my podcast. And sure enough, I had seen Matt Kiyumjin in the back at TJ on my way, on my way running and stuff. And it was cool because I was going to tell him about how I've been running. But he said, yeah, I know. I heard it on your podcast. So for me, that was actually pretty dope because, I've been, like I said, it was more validation for me that, you have people out there that are listening to your podcast, but also as validation for myself because I could, confidently tell him, yeah, I have been running 4 miles because he's actually seeing me in the act doing it. So,
Mhm.
it's times like that that is kind of like been my motivation to get up and run when I haven't wanted to, because I definitely know I didn't want to today.
Yeah, listen, man, I can totally relate to that, you know. And I wasn't doing any drinking during the day. I'm still working, fortunately, from home. But yeah, like I was eating like crazy though. I was eating whatever I wanted. I made pasta like almost every other night. I was making
Yeah.
like microwave pizzas or oven baked pizzas and baking cupcakes and all the shit that I never really eat because I'm always meal prepping, you know, with my normal routine. But it was
Hmm.
just so comfortable, like this lifestyle, like being at home, everything's so accessible and stuff. So this last week, like on Saturday, last weekend actually, I felt like weird. I felt like sick, overweight. I felt like tingliness in my fingers and stuff, and I never had these like feelings before. And I was like, yo, I gotta get my health right. So this last week, actually, I started Insanity. So just like you, man, you're doing some running, some exercising. Same thing. I'm waking up in the morning. I'm not eating any sugar and stuff, and just exercising in the morning for an hour, stretching out and stuff, staying healthy. And that's a really big thing, man. It's really important. And I think a lot more people need to do some kind of home workout, you know, because I feel
Oh
a
yeah.
lot better. You just feel healthier, right? Like, especially going out on a run, you know, getting some fresh air, getting out of your house. It's great, man.
Oh yeah, and I guess my one question to you is like, I know everybody talks about the dieting and how you can exercise, but you still have to do the right things to put the right things in your body. So I know for me, one of the things I've tried to do as well too is cut out fast food completely. And there'll be times where I'm out and I try to drive by and you got Taco Bell and it's so enticing, or you got Burger King and it's so enticing. I gotta, fight myself to say, hey, I'm gonna go home. I got something at the crib. So like for you, how are you able to, use that self control and, tell yourself to eat the right things when there's so many other things out there that are delicious that aren't good for
Well,
us?
I don't know if I'm going to be the best person to give advice because I'm usually a one extreme or the other kind of guy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I flip the switch on and I flip the switch off. So last Sunday, I was like, I'm done. I don't want sugar anymore. I don't want anything. I'm going full balls to the walls, just dieting my ass off. So I use my fitness pal. I track my macros, and this is when I get really extreme. You know, once I'm starting to calculate shit, that's when you know I'm serious. So I got
Yeah.
my fitness pal, calculating everything in there that I eat. I haven't eaten out at all actually since we've been in isolation, not once. Haven't even ordered pizza. Everything's been just Costco runs or Trader Joe's runs, getting food, bringing it home, cooking it. Um, and yeah, man, I mean, like once you make that decision, you got to ask yourself, like, is it really worth it? You know, like all the hard work that you're putting in running, is it really worth it to go screw off and get some fast food? You know, it might
Yeah.
have that guilty pleasure, like right off the bat, feel really good, but it's not going to suit you the next run that you have, you know, like you're going to
For
feel it that
sure.
next day. There's going to be this heavy feeling. So you just gotta just stay disciplined, man. And I listen to a lot of stuff like all the time. I'm programming my mind with all kinds of positive information. Like David Goggins, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Navy SEAL.
Mm.
He's an ultra marathoner. He has a world record in pull-ups. Unbelievable athlete. But
Wow.
when I see him post videos of him running, I'm just like, dude, if I don't do this hour workout, I am such a punk ass bitch. Like, you know?
You got no excuse, right?
Yeah, man. And he was like 297 pounds and he cut down to whatever he is now, like 200, maybe less than that. Yeah, he's definitely less than that, but he's tall. So he could be 200. I'm not sure. But he cut down a lot of weight to get into Navy SEAL training. And his story is so inspiring. And every time that he posts something, like I read the actual captions, sometimes it's long, but he was saying in the last one, he's like, don't give up, don't quit too soon, you know, so I got this week of workout done, but this morning I was like, yo, I don't really feel like working out now. You know, it's
Mm.
like those are the moments that test you, right? The times that you don't really want to do it. Same
Oh,
thing,
big
like
facts.
times where you could just, hey, let me get that brownie instead of just saying, not today, just not today, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And making those small decisions, they add up over time. And I've cut weight before, but again, I have to do it. This is going to be my second time um, cutting like a lot of weight, like 30 pounds. I'm going to try and cut by August.
Wow.
So it's tough, man. It really is. And, but it's all about the mindset. You know, you got to train your mind and read a whole bunch of things. Like I watch and listen to a lot of Navy SEAL guys, training videos, and another guy that I follow is Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL commander. Yeah, he wrote a book called Discipline Equals Freedom. And he talks about how waking up every day, staying disciplined and doing things, when he doesn't want to do them helps him feel more free, and not just feel more free, but he gets more shit done than anybody else. So I try and like find somebody that inspires me. Or another example, freaking Rock. Like The Rock, man, he's still working out, busting his ass. So I just attach myself to somebody and I'm like, all right, I got to do what he's doing. Yeah. So and who do you follow usually like that inspires you?
Honestly, I think that, a lot of times we have athletes that, you can gravitate towards. I'm sure everybody's, how to say, idolizing Jordan now because you have the Jordan documentary that's been out recently. But honestly, I draw strength from, the people's closest to me, and that's my family. I look at, my mom, we just celebrated on Mother's Day, and, she survived through breast cancer. And, she tries so hard to make, every day for us a special day. Then I have my dad, who, just recently retired, and, who I draw my work ethic from. And, for him to be able to, now be at peace, from just such, an immense amount of hard work, it just really makes you have to get out there. So even though on days where, I, obviously am unemployed, I still try to find a way to, do something positive to push myself professionally. I think that that's the work ethic that I've taken from him. So, a lot of my big influences have come from, my own family members for sure.
That's great, man. That's exceptional. I mean, it's right from the house. It goes a long way. I mean, getting up every morning and seeing your, family members doing their thing. It's like, yo, got to get going too, so that's the best, man.
Oh yeah. And not just my parents as well too, but, my siblings, I have my sister, who got her, scholarship completely paid for athletically. She's doing, really exceptional. And you have my brother, who's a real stand-up guy. And, he's working for PSEG and enjoying it. And, it's just, I have a lot of, to be proud of. And I come from a great family. So, it's inspirations like that get me through those tough days for sure.
Yeah. So tell me about the first day you went running. How did you feel?
The first day I went running did not feel great. I'll tell you that much. It was crazy because afterwards I looked at the mileage and I was like, wow, I really did 4 miles. I mean, granted, I was gasping and I was beat to shit, but, I felt good, coming home. But, it was definitely a rude awakening to myself as well because it was a harsh reality that had a long way to go. And it just drove me to want to come back again the next day. So, I feel somebody had told me, I don't know where it was from, but they say it takes 2 weeks to start a habit. So, I'm going on, week 3 as far as running. So, I'm just trying to continue to push myself, create reachable goals and then also impossible goals because you got to have something that you want to reach for. I know that, in the next week, I probably won't get a 10-minute mile, but that's one of the things that I'm striving for is, that continuous process. I know one of our, I don't know if you play Street Fighter, but Ryu says it. He goes, the answer lies in the heart of battle. So
yeah,
I try and go in there and battle.
Absolutely, bro. Definitely with you on that. 100%. So this is week 3 for you running. So dude, like I got to tell you, man, the first day I did Insanity, it sucked so bad. And I feel like this is a good topic for us to talk about because a lot of our friends are probably in the same boat too, where we either started a family, got married and got a little bit chunkier, or working a sedentary job where we're sitting down all the time. Didn't you you were an athlete in high school? You played basketball, you played sports all the time. I think you played baseball too, right?
Yeah, I played baseball for a year.
Yeah. So, you played sports and stuff and you grow like all through high school. And then like it starts to like teeter down a little bit as soon as college hits and then the professional life and the activity starts to slow down. Right. Like how did you feel about that? What are some emotions that you went through going through that? Cause I went through a lot of shit. But what did you go through?
Honestly, I played 2 years of college basketball And, after I had transferred and, wasn't playing anymore, I graduated. And, we see that our activity level goes down a little bit, but that's why my full time job was so important to me because I was still able to play with kids every single day. And I'll take the time out in between lunch breaks to go shoot around or, get some exercise in. So, I feel like, for me, it wasn't more so the non-activity. It was more of the bad habits, I guess you could say, like eating fast food a lot, because a lot of the times, you're going from, I was going two jobs at one point as well, too. I was bartending and doing a full-time job. So, a lot of times you don't have time. And the easiest thing to do is just go get some fast food, right? So, I think that, like you talked about before, when that continuously builds up, you have to get yourself in the right mind frame to do something about it. You have a lot of people out there that, aren't happy and don't, they look in the mirror and they're not happy with what they see, but they're not willing to make the change to get the place that they want to go. So I feel like, for me, there definitely was a time, and I think, I was in my previous relationship, and I was at the most, I think it was like 240 or something like that, which was astronomical.
No
And
way.
then, yeah, dead ass. And then like something just clicked in me, and I was just like, yo, I can't be like this anymore. And, I had gotten out of my relationship, and then I just took my personal health like a lot more seriously, because I think that's another thing that factors in, when you're comfortable with someone, you're not exactly thinking about, how you look, at times.
Yeah.
So I think that, that was something really important that I took, and I was able to drop down to as low as, I think it was like 195. So I dropped about 50 pounds. And, the toughest thing once you do lose that weight is trying to sustain that. And now I'm at the point where, I teeter in between like 210, 200. And, that's kind of been, my weight that, but I want to be more consistent in that activity so that I can get to that target goal of 180, 185, whatever that may be. But, you can't have that or, get to that point if you're pushing yourself to the point where you don't want to do it. So like in this process of still trying to create change, trying to find those times in there to rest as well so that you can continue to go to battle.
Yeah, recovery is one of the most important parts of the entire thing, especially as we're getting older. Like we need longer times to recover, having good sleep habits and making sure we're stretching, staying hydrated, having enough protein in your diet. Like those things are so important. And I don't take them lightly now, and I think that you made a great point, like just mentioning pretty much that you need like incremental changes, so that you can sustain it long term. There's
For
been so
sure.
many times, like you probably have too, like where you might have started a workout and you went like all out and it lasted like 2 or 3 days and you're like, yo, I'm exhausted. My body's broken. I can't even work out now. And you don't want to be in that place. You want to be able to work out consistently again and again and again.
For sure. And I think that, that happened to me when I first got into Planet Fitness. It was right down the block. So I was like, there's no excuse. I got to go, and, when you're continuously going and sometimes you burn yourself out and then you don't want to go. And now it's like you're fighting yourself. So, I think that, creating a plan that works for you and, not necessarily, how can I say, emulating those influences completely, because maybe some guys go in about 6 or 7 days, but everybody's body and change happens at a different pace. So just finding out what your pace is was definitely going to be influential for you to sustain that change.
Yeah, and just doing like a simple, even a half hour workout, will make a huge difference in your life. Just one little workout. And if you did that every day, like you just made a huge difference, in the way your body is operating. So,
Yeah.
but
And I think
yeah,
the
do you do
main
any
thing,
like do you follow any like intermittent fasting or anything?
I'm actually not really too versed on that. Like I said, I don't really have much experience. I know my one friend Darius, he's huge on the intermittent fasting and doing juice fasts and stuff like that. So I definitely see some positives there because I've seen how his body changed and changed actually considerably quickly. So there's definitely some credibility in those intermittent fastings and juice fasts.
Yeah, give it a try, man. The past week I've been doing intermittent fasting and I've had experience with it before. Basically, you have like an eating window, and I follow like an 8 hour eating window, 7 to 8 hour eating window. So with between, I don't eat breakfast. I have a couple cups of coffee after I work out in the morning around like 9 o'clock. And then in the afternoon, between like 12 o'clock and 6:30 to 7 p.m. is when I eat. And I usually have two meals. So I'll eat around 12:30 for like lunchtime. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
have, anywhere from 500 to 700 calories. And then towards the evening time around 6:37 for dinner, same thing, like 600, 700 calories, and go from there. But it definitely helps, keep, especially like not eating closer to bedtime. It
Mm.
helps. And you get your body into what's called ketosis, where you start producing ketones, and those ketones are um, pretty much using fat as energy instead of
Mm-hmm.
your glycogen stores, your sugar stores. So I definitely feel a difference in my body just in 1 week of doing intermittent fasting. But give it a try. There's an app that I can send it to you. It's called I think it's called Life actually. Let me check really
Mm-hmm.
quick. I think it's Life. Yeah, Life, Life, and you can track your intermittent fasting like windows. Like you can click a start time, end time, and it's pretty simple to follow. And like once you do it for a couple of days, you're like, okay, this is a piece of cake. But
Mm.
give it a try, man. You might actually end up losing some extra body fat. You never know.
Yeah, hey, you got to be receptive to different ideas. That's the only way we can learn as people. So maybe I'll have to check that out for sure.
Totally, bro. Do you do
Mhm.
like supplements too or anything or anything like that? Or you just eat right?
When I was, I guess when I was in college and stuff, I tried like the pre-workout and I did the protein. My brother is huge on the supplements. I did take, a couple of those, I guess it was like Vita Packs or whatever when I was
Hmm.
younger. But I think one of the things that kind of steered me away from, supplements or whatever was when I would take the pre-workout, I'd start breaking out on my body and stuff like that. I just felt like, I wanted to go natural, I guess you could say. And one
Hmm.
of the things that I've said is that, if I go out and lift or if I go run, there's no way that something positive can't happen. So I guess, that's the kind of way that I've taken as far as, not using supplements.
Well, that's good, man. If you can get all your nutrients from food, that's the way to do it. But usually, like I'll do like a protein shake, at the very least. But
Mm-hmm.
those pre workouts have way too much caffeine for me. I remember when I was
Yeah.
younger, I used to take them before, just to kind of feel it a little bit. But now, like I have my own hype. Like once I get into, I mean, like my own fire. So once I get in
Mm-hmm.
the zone, I'm already amped up. I don't need anything else to get me amped up. So
Yeah, you start feeling tingly, and
yeah,
I didn't like that shit. I didn't like it
yeah.
one bit. Nah.
So that's good, man. Just stick to water and electrolytes. You'll
Yeah.
be good.
I mean, our body's made of 99% of it, so why not give it some more, right?
Right? Totally, bro. So what else has been happening? How's the show going? What's the most recent episode you've been working on, or what do you got coming up? Love to talk
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, I think we just finished recording episode 52. Really took a little bit of a different, angle as far as, trying to make it like a little bit of a self-help episode. I know I talked a little bit about UFC, but we really tried to talk about, self-investment because, that was something for me that, amidst this whole coronavirus and, the lack of job hunting or, job success, I guess you could say, I've really taken to, investing in myself. And I know Josh Williams had a question about having a little extra cash and where he could invest that money. So it kind of stemmed from that as far as trying to, not only think about answering Josh Williams, but, everybody else out there that might be thinking the same thing. So, I've really, in each episode, I think I've tried to captivate a little bit of a theme, but I think more so recently, I've really tried to humanize my show outside of just sports because that's what this whole quarantine has really gotten us to that point. So just really trying to hit, those things to really help people to understand, just what's going on in my mind and some of the things that influence me to be the positive, productive person that I'm trying to be.
Mhm. So tell me, like, why did you start your podcast? Like, I feel like every podcaster has their own reasons or their own visions for it, getting into it. But tell me a little bit about like starting out, because that's like the hardest part is getting it off the ground, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I've been a sports reporter for about 6 years now. And one of the toughest things for that is that, when you're a small time, media company, you sometimes have difficult times getting credentials and stuff. So, we would get the flow of, Giants games, but, sometimes getting access to Knicks, Nets, and other, sports organizations was a little bit difficult. And then also in the process of trying to job hunt for a job like sports reporting, it's a little bit difficult to kind of get your foot in the door. So one of the things that my mentor had said is that you got to find a way to continue to create content and get your name out there and build a hype. And, with me being very sports savvy, very knowledgeable, and people always ask me questions all the time about certain things. So, it was a strong push from my mom and my dad as far as telling me that, you really need to do this podcast and you really should, look into how to start it. And I think for the longest time, even for like a year, I just dismissed the fact because I was just so afraid to fail. And, I looked at it as far as, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it live because I want everybody to see, I'm coming in raw. I'm doing this one take and then that's it. So it kind of just took off when I looked at some articles online. And they said the biggest, step is, buying the equipment. So that I took, some of my paycheck and I invested in some equipment. I was like, how's the quickest way I can get started in creating content? I don't really have the studio that you do, and it looks amazing, man. But
Thank you, man.
I think the biggest thing for me was just trying to get started. And once I, got the equipment, it was I just hit the ground running. I got a lot of support from my friends and family. And then just trying to continue to put things out there. And I think one of the things you had talked about was, how important getting feedback was for you in our last episode.
Yep.
So, constantly having people like, Matt Kay saying they're listening into the show, and then having new people that say that you wouldn't be expecting to come on the live. I think that those are all things that drive me to continue to do this podcasting and, do it well. I can say each and every week we have anywhere between, 10 to 20 people that are on the Facebook live stream. And, we've been able to get our YouTube up to 60. But, the main thing for that is that it wasn't instantaneous and Rome wasn't built in a day. To get to this point where I'm still extremely far from where I want to be, it took a year and it took 52 episodes, So I think for me, it's continuously trying to put out content, but also motivate myself to get better with each episode and be receptive to different feedback and constantly seeking that information.
That's great, man. I mean, you couldn't have said it better than that. Like that's so important, and just putting out content and being consistent with it, connecting with an audience, and the live stream feature. I feel like I'm a little intimidated by the live stream, to be honest with you, man. But it might be a game changer. It really might.
Yeah, and I think it's been an easily a way to captivate different audiences too, because one of the things is when people hop on the live, I shout them out directly on the show. So there's been plenty of times where people have come up to me and say, yo, I appreciate that shout out, man. It meant a lot. And I think it's the easiest way to engage with your audience directly, because one of the things of how people struggle with building their podcast or gaining an audience is they have a lack of engagement with their fans. So when you have a podcast where, people feel like they can be in the couch right with you, or they can talk directly from you, whether they're 100,000 miles away, and I think that's the easiest way to not only get somebody's attention, but keep it.
Totally, man. Great advice. And the other advice that you were saying was to invest in like equipment and stuff and get a few things, like a microphone. And I feel like some people they don't really know how to start a podcast. They might be just like us, like way back, like being intimidated, seeing other people's podcasts. Like, I don't know, man, if I could do that. I remember what I felt like a few months back, but like once you actually like invest in it and you start to learn about it, it just comes. And some people even record podcasts on their phone. Like I was seeing YouTube videos of people recording podcasts on their phone and then pushing it out there on like Anchor app, for as a host. But yeah, man, it's everybody has something to share.
Yeah.
And yours is more focused on sports. I like to highlight people and in a different light. Everybody's got something to share, man, and it's pretty cool. Like it's a nice community. I haven't met anybody who wasn't helpful with it.
And I think one of the biggest things too, as far as getting better and constantly trying to help your show out, is that you're able to also listen to your show. So one of my rituals is I always listen to my show directly afterwards. I listen to it the whole way through. And, it really helps me to get a sense of, how I sound, what are some of the things that I'm talking about. And, when you actually sit there and reflect and are able to hear yourself, I think it's a lot different, especially for me when I'm live, when I'm trying to hit so many different things. It really helps you to, create that base of where you're at. And, especially from going on 52, 53 episodes, it can be very easy to not, to go around the same way and do the same things, right? So, helping and listening to those things and getting that feedback from people, it definitely helps you to create, different episodes, try out new ideas. I think one of my favorite things about having my own podcast is creative freedom. I don't have to tell anybody like, hey, should I try this at 8:30, which I did last week, and you get to tweak with your show a little bit and try and see how the things are. And one of the things that I've really helped out with me is through my host site of Buzzsprout. They provide a range of different statistics for you to break down and to analyze, which kind of helps you to direct, the type of things that you're trying to do with your podcast. And one of the things that also helped me out too is somebody on LinkedIn on my alumni network, when I was trying to think of different ways to, create original content and help out with, marketing myself, was that he told me that you have to provide solutions. So for a lot of the things that we're doing here, we're passionate about, it's one thing to tell somebody how you feel, but it's another thing to provide solutions to a problem or to a theme or whatever. So that's another thing that's kind of helped me to create different content and find a way to find content that stands the test of time.
Nice, man. Well, I love it. So after you go live on your Facebook, right? Do you normally like repost that to YouTube and other platforms, or you just stick with like Facebook?
So as soon as the Facebook Live is done, I have on my other laptop where I'm recording the raw audio. So pretty much what I do is shout out to my boy Zishan Abbas. He's our music sponsor, music producer, and he sends song and beat on the front and the back, and we just try and get it out as quick as possible. So I put it on my my host site Buzzsprout, and then from there it goes to Spotify, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. But the thing is, when you go on Buzzsprout, they give you your host here, your URL or whatever. And from there, you have to apply for each, site, whether it's Spotify, Google Podcasts. So once you do that, as soon as you upload your episodes to your host site, the site does it for you with distributing that content. So all I have to do once Facebook is done, I put the audio and edit it a little bit, and then it goes to the host site. And then from there, I also record it on my phone, like you had talked about before, and I use the video from that phone to then promote to YouTube as well. So, once the episode is done, there's a lot of work that goes into it too, with creating clips for Instagram, creating clips for Twitter. I usually take the whole course of that week to just push that content and drive those episodes.
That's great, man. Same here. That's what I'm doing too, is working on clips to put out there and using as much like little bit pieces of content and putting it wherever, because there's an audience in all these different platforms, right? I feel like people just starting out need to realize that like it's not just your audio, and having that host is really awesome because it makes everything convenient to get it out there to all the podcast platforms. But then if you could just maybe put it on video as well, or maybe get it into like a little sound bite and somehow get it on Instagram, just so people know that, hey, you got some audio and video going on. You got something going on that's creative that might, pique their interest. So
yeah, and you have a whole bunch of different learners, man. You have auditory learners, you have visual learners, kinesthetic learners. So, I feel like when you hit all those different avenues, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, you name it, you're giving. I can't forcibly make you listen to my show. But what I can do is I can give you a whole bunch of different avenues to where you can access that content. So whether you're not ready to watch it today, I've still produced that content so that whenever you're ready, you have no excuse or no other option, right? You can go listen to it. You can video it. So if you can go on YouTube, you can watch my show. So just try to provide as many accessible options for people,
this has been good. 45 minutes so far. We're going strong.
Oh yeah, man.
Giving
I
people
tell
some
you
good
what.
advice and good nuggets here.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot, man. I think the one thing with your show that I've seen, I guess from following from afar, is that I've seen your confidence from the first time that you got on the mic at my show to now. I think this will be what episode 10 or 11 for you, and I've seen an extreme amount of confidence in you, and I think that that's what helps to drive your show and make get more followers. So I want to commend you for sure for embracing your show and really finding your personality on the mic. And it's something that's very hard for people to do, and it takes them a lot of time. You've been able to do that in under 10 episodes. So big
Thanks a
kudos
lot,
to you.
man. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work and a lot of YouTube hours watched on my
Yeah.
end,
So I guess
studying
like
up.
for and I guess like for you, how have you found a way? And I know you've been doing a lot of these Zooms, and I was so excited to see that done this remote. So how was it? How did you get to that point where you were like, really, I got to get some content out there? So how did you get to that Zoom point?
So yeah, so that's a good question. So when I started out, right, like once we got into isolation, I was like, I had a podcast scheduled that Saturday, like that first weekend, and my friend was like, yeah, man, I don't really feel comfortable coming over. I'm kind of, concerned about the coronavirus, and same here. I was concerned too, like especially because it's at my house. It's not like at a studio. It's in a second bedroom in my house that I have set up. And I was like, do I really want to do this? I was like, all right, let me cancel and let's just see how the weekend plays out, and then the week. And then everything like escalated. People were shutting down businesses and stuff. And I was like, could still have people over, but I don't really want to take that risk. And I was watching like a few people, like everybody was hopping on Zoom doing like whatever, like yoga videos or other podcasts or like just live streaming themselves, giving advice and stuff. And I was like, all right, maybe I should go that route. But I don't know, something about the person right in front of you when you're actually there with them live, it's so different than it is on video. Um, but yeah, I dove in with Laura Weisman, and we did our first
Okay.
Zoom on there. So it was a good experience. I like it, man. And the cool thing is that you can connect with people who are so far away. You don't have to rely on them coming. So like even Mike Westbrook's, like he's down in Georgia, and we got to do a podcast there. So I was like, wow, like I would have had to wait for him to come to Jersey at some point to be on the podcast versus just doing a video. So, which I thought was really cool actually. And I'm getting used to it. I still want to fine tune some things, especially like the production quality and stuff and figure that out. But I feel like the audio is really good. And most people listen to my podcast on either YouTube or Spotify. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy with it now, but it was definitely a little bit of a shift for me, going into the web.
And I think one of the things that I saw too was, I saw that, you had done those remote interviews. I'm like, wow, this is pretty dope. And I know me personally, I was trying to wait because I love the studio you had. I wanted to, get a chance to record in the studio. But, I feel like with this coronavirus, we really had to be adaptive with the times. And I commend you for being adaptive. And I wanted to be on board too and hop on with you. So I think this is really dope. And, I think it's a little bit different for me with my show because I'm being live and direct and talking to people on air, and it's definitely a different dynamic. So, and I think that that's something that's really awesome that you've been able to do, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man. And I'm gonna definitely have to have you on live one day after all this craziness is over. I'd love to have you come to the studio, chill out, and just enjoy being a guest here. That'd be awesome for
Yeah,
you. I try and make the experience really good. So that's great, man. But
yeah.
yeah, Barry, it's been an awesome hour here. I think we'll probably wrap it up a little bit. Got a lot of good
Okay,
content out here. So
for sure.
where can we find you, Barry? Tell us about your social media handles.
All right, dope. So, everybody out there, thank you for tuning in first and foremost. I have a lot of people out there that, like my show. So definitely want to check us out. The name of the show is called Talk That Talk Show. Streaming live on Facebook on Fridays. You can check us out on Twitter at Talk That Talk SH1, Instagram _Talk That Talk Show. I know me personally, I have my own personal Instagram. So if you ever want to hear any topics or you want to reach out to me, My Instagram is underscore Barry Buckets. And then also on Twitter, mine is BHO732. And then also, if you want to see me play some video games, maybe I'll be streaming with Harry sometime. My Twitch is twitch.tv/Barry Buckets Gaming. So I got a lot of different avenues to check out my content. The YouTube channel as well, Talk That Talk Show. So yeah, those are my different handles. Would love to hear from you all out there, and thank you for tuning into this episode.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Barry. And I'll be sure to put some of those links in the YouTube bio and even the podcast bio. I'll get those from Barry for you guys. But yeah, guys, another episode done. Say goodbye,
And also,
Barry.
my fault. Another big shout out to my sponsor. I actually got the shirt on right now, 91s.com. My boy Cody Bromley's got the best acid wash apparel in the game. He's been my sponsor from day one, and he's just been hooking me up with some cool, fresh threads. So definitely wanted to give a big shout out to him, 91s.com. Come on, go check it out.
Love it, man. All right, Barry. Take care, man.
All right,
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.